I got introduced to Keep Austin Fed after meeting Ira. And one time we were having dinner and he said, "Oh, I forgot, I've got to pick up the bread." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And so we went to the back of a restaurant and into the kitchen, and there was a bag of bread. He picked up the bread and we went out the door back to his car, and was like, "Well, what was that about, Ira? What was that bread about?" "Oh, yeah, they have surplus food, and I have a little scheduled pickup, and I pick it up." And I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool. I never heard of that." And as time went on, I realized what was happening is these restaurants had the surplus stuff. They made their food fresh just about every day or every other day. And when the food didn't sell, then it would get thrown in the garbage. And so the idea was to connect that surplus food with people who could use it. And that really resonated with me. I did a lot of the operational stuff myself, so to see how it's kind of been divided up and really fleshed out, it's really exciting. I created the logo, which is really cool to see is still in use. Just wanting to give it kind of a more modern and slick appearance, just to attract more people, and it took off. The Facebook page got really popular. People started signing up, and it quickly grew beyond the scope of being able to mentally keep track of well, if you pick up from here, take it there. We needed a real system in place. The pivotal moment came when Snap Kitchen, because they produce fresh food on a daily basis, they had a lot of food that was still edible, but they were cycling out. And they wanted initially for Compost Coalition to try to take that food and compost it. But it was a really large volume of food. And on top of that, it was still edible. It really didn't belong in the compost. It really belonged in a place where people could eat it. And so that was the first kind of big pickup, and it was kind of beyond the scope of what we were doing, just kind of informally. And so I formalized it with a Facebook page and thought that there's interest. And I think if we could maybe publicize this a little bit, we could get more volunteers involved. And so at that point, it became obvious that perhaps there'd be a way for us to secure funding or some other kind of assistance if we could show that our efforts were keeping X amount of food waste out of the landfill, and connect that with people in need. Things started to develop very quickly. We had more and more places signing up, requesting to receive the surplus food. And we had more and more places soliciting, "Hey, we've got this surplus food." And I mean, it was just really blowing up. Meanwhile, I have a full-time job and it's trying to juggle, all of these duties. So it became really hectic. But one of the most rewarding experiences that I've had was seeing, just in the period of, I think, 2 years, that it went from just a couple of guys picking up a bag of bread, to this formalized process of sourcing volunteers, training them, connecting them with established food runs, so that we knew that this place that houses 75 people is getting a decent mix of food. In the early days, I mean, we were just people with big hearts and extra time. And so we used our own equipment. It might just be a cardboard box. It might just be an insulated bag that we personally own. I was really blown away when I saw a refrigerated truck like that. That's incredible. I mean, I'm so proud to have had just a small hand in getting this kind of launch of Keep Austin Fed. And I mean, it has taken this life of its own that is so sorely needed. So many people are contributing and so many people are benefiting. So, I mean, it is a win across the board. That makes me really happy. You can't be well if you're not nutritionally sustained. If you don't have access to food and access to healthy food, that is, I mean, it's just a key element to living a healthy life. For me, being able to ensure that all of the resources that have gone into growing food, trucking it to a place, and then they prepare it, they cook it, they offer it for sale. It doesn't sell, but it's still got value. That doesn't just get pitched, that it could actually serve a small part in somebody's life who's struggling to make ends meet or to feed themselves. It's the right thing to do. Edible food that's going to go in the garbage, it's painful to see. This is really good food. And so being able to just insert just a little bit of care and nutrition, I mean, it's very rewarding. What I admire most about Keep Awesome Fed today is the fact that the mission is unchanged. The system has grown bigger, it's grown more complex and more complete, but the mission itself is still intact and just so powerful to be able to connect those donated items to people who need them. Happy anniversary, Keep Awesome Fed.